Hey guys, and today we will be reviewing the campaign for Halo 5 Guardians that released in 2015 for the Xbox One console. During this review, we'll be looking at 5 key aspects of how I graded and reviewed Halo 5. We'll review such things as story, visual, audio, gameplay mechanics and controls, and finally the fun factor. Each of these sections I'll grade on a scale of how I feel is the importance, and at the end we'll add up these scores. If you're wondering why I don't use a simpler scale such as 1 to 10, because some sections such as gameplay mechanics I feel can be quite intensive and need a breakdown. Stay tuned for my score, and alright guys, let's get right into this. Throughout this section, I will reveal some spoilers, so please skip ahead to what you see on screen to see my score and avoid any spoilers. Also, I will not dive into any lore as this is just a review video. Alright, you've been warned, so let's continue.
Com check.
Comms working fine, Lab.
Copy that.
Halo 5 opens up with a badass cutscene that makes you wish you can experience it personally. But I guess a cutscene works. Immediately, we're greeted by Fireteam Osiris led by Spartan Locke that cuts through Covenant forces where they also introduce new gameplay mechanics where a goal is to retrieve Dr. Halsey and kill the Covenant faction leader, Jewel Madama. As you retrieve Dr. Halsey, she informs you of a new threat emerging. In the meantime, Blue Team that's led by Master Chief were their sent to secure research station that has been adrift for 2 years called Argent Moon. As Blue Team explores the research vessel, they witness a large Covenant force arriving, resulting in Blue Team deciding to sabotage the station instead of leaving it to the Covenant forces. There, Master Chief receives a cryptic message from Cortana and decides to go rogue and pursue the trail set by Cortana. Back on the UNSC ship Infinity, Lasky tasks Fireteam Osiris in capturing Blue Team as they see Cortana being untrustworthy. Fireteam Osiris lands on a human colony that's attacked by the Prometheans, where you aid and assist the colonists. After dealing with the Promethean, Locke engages Master Chief where you're greeted with a cutscene where ultimately Master Chief prevails by locking Spartan Locke's armor and fleeing within the Colossal Guardian. Cortana then shares with Master Chief that her rampancy is cured by the Forerunner technology, and that she is the one to carry the mantle responsibility set by the Forerunners. Fireteam Osiris now has to find another way to Master Chief and Blue Team. They're deployed to Sankheli, who are the elite homeworld of Sankhelios, where they plan to use a dormant guardian to travel to Blue Team's location. In process, Fireteam Osiris joins forces with the Arbiter from Halo 2 to destroy Jewel's remaining Covenant forces. Fireteam Osiris learns of Cortana's plan to use the Guardians to achieve galactic peace, which is a forcible disarmament, aka kill all life throughout the galaxy. Master Chief is also aware of this and tries to stop Cortana and attempts to convince her, but she imprisons Blue Team in the process. Throughout the galaxy, AIs begin swearing allegiance to Cortana and her plan of forcible disarmament. Fireteam Osiris saves Blue Team, while the Infinity performs emergency jumps into slip space to run away from Cortana while they could come up with a plan. Fireteam Osiris and Blue Team eventually return to Halsey and the Arbiter on the world of Sankhelios with what they seem to be as one unit. Part of me is sad that Cortana and Chief no longer have that bond as they did in previous installments. After getting past this, and how the AI comes to an end at a certain point because of rampancy, I know this will open up an opportunity for new AI to hopefully take Cortana's place for Master Chief. Some of the story elements that I need to nitpick that just didn't sit quite right with me is how easy the leader of the Covenant faction leader, Jewel Madama, was killed. I would have figured he would have given a tougher fight, or that the bodyguards around him would have done a better job. I felt after getting invested in the story about midway through, I began to start enjoying the story as a whole, as developers took you to 2 different perspectives from Blue Team and Fireteam Osiris, which was a huge plus for me. This worked really well in Halo 2 between Arbiter and Master Chief, and I think it worked just as well in Halo 5. Overall for this, I give the story a 12 out of 15. Popping the disc in, if you don't have the digital version, Halo's iconic music starts and you know right away this is Halo. Weapons feel and sound good. I'm a big fan of the UNSC weapons, such as the assault rifle. They just nail it. Just listen to this. Unlike the UNSC weapons, Covenant weapons didn't have the big impact on me as we saw some classics like the plasma pistol and the Needler. There's no more plasma rifle, but instead we have a storm rifle. As soon as the campaign starts, you're greeted with a beautiful, stunning cutscene that displays how unstoppable Spartans are and introduces new gameplay mechanics that the player can perform in-game that I just mentioned in the beginning of the story. Throughout the game, the music plays just right in the background, hearing enemy chatter when they're not aware that your team is there, and during firefight engagements, the chatter is very immersive. For this, I provide a score for 10 out of 10 for both visual and audio due to the beautiful visuals throughout the experience, immersive music, and dialogue that keeps you engaged. Throughout the Halo 5 experience, controls felt right at home from what you expect from a modern-day first-person shooter. Master Chief can now run. My first time experiencing this feature is from Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and it's turned into an expectation from me. One of the new features to the franchise is what I call the Power Bash. This is where you could run and bash into objects. This includes bashing into the enemy, as well as bashing into pre-selected walls to find shortcuts, weapons, and data pads. Data pads I'll explain later on what these are. When you need to escape quickly, you now have the ability to evade quickly. After use, you have a short cooldown period, but you can use this while in air or on the ground running. Another new feature I really enjoyed is the ground pound. This is great when you have the upper ground. You see a group of baddies and you want to come in and mess up their world. Although this is something I would forget about and only use on a handful of times, it's a nice addition because it just reinforces why Spartans are unstoppable. One core mechanic you'll notice right away when you're starting up Halo 5 is the 3 additional Spartans following you. Here you can order your Spartans who to focus attacking, where to go, what weapons to use, and I think most importantly to revive you. This is where Halo 5 lost me a little. I can see where the developers were going with this, and especially with the online co-op, but it took me away from the knowing how really badass Spartans are. Prior to this, the Master Chief was practically unstoppable with the support of the UNSC with weapon drops and the occasional cannon fodder such as UNSC troops accompanying you. I really didn't use the rest of the team other than to revive me while I was down, and even when I did this, I felt like I was cheating. I felt like my hand was being held, and as a player not learning my lessons when I jump into firefights with no regard to my health and shields. This type of gameplay just didn't give me the opportunity to challenge me and rethink how I want to approach a firefight. Vehicles play and feel naturally good. No surprise here. To me, Halo always had a great vehicle controls. You get a nice variety of selection levels where you get to drive, fly, ride, both UNSC, Covenant, and even a Promethean vehicle. All feel unique and right at home. Although I didn't like the teammate mechanic, how it revives you, overall I felt this was an excellent game. Halo 5 did a lot of things right. The vehicle controls, how the player controls, weapons, interactions, hearing background chatter, it just felt so immersive and so good. Because of this, I rate this as a 45 out of 50. I see myself replaying certain missions over and over again, while I know later on I will replay the entire campaign again. Halo 5 as a whole is an engaging, and although the team mechanic of the game felt a little underwhelming, I really wanted to play it through. Each level is filled with data pads that work as additional lore or added story elements that can get you invested into the gameplay. After you beat a level, you can see what difficulty you beat the level as well as all the hidden data pads you can find. I was a little disappointed that the Spartans could no longer dual wield smaller weapons and not seeing all the Covenant weapons we were used to, such as the plasma rifle. Also, the Promethean weapons felt a little boring to me as I felt like I have experienced those weapons already with the Covenant and the UNSC. This is not to say that their weapons are copies, where each weapon is unique. I just didn't pick up the weapons unless I needed to due to running out of ammo. The elites in Halo 5 feel much bigger and heavier than what I remember in previous titles, where elites were lighter and more agile. I feel like I was fighting brutes versus elites. Enemy types you experience early on in the game don't really change throughout. I would have enjoyed a little more enemy variety. By the end of the campaign, I felt the game was a little shorter than I would have liked, but you were given 15 missions of action. These are just some of the shortcomings of what Halo 5 is, but where they fell short, they made up tenfold in other areas. For fun factor and shortcomings, I score Halo 5 Guardians 12 out of 15. Alright guys, thanks for following along and watching the video. As you can see overall, I scored Halo 5 Guardians an 89%, and below is a breakout. And I hope you understand why I have a weighted score. You know, gameplay can make and break a game, even though it could have a good story, or you could have a bad story, and still gameplay could carry the entire game on. I'll catch you guys at the next video review. Thanks.